హే గాయ్స్, సో ఈరోజు ఒక ఇంపార్టెంట్ టాపిక్ మీద డిస్కస్ చేద్దామని వచ్చాం అనమాట. చాలా వరకు రెజ్యూమే మీద చాలా క్వశ్చన్స్ వస్తున్నాయి, హౌ టు బిల్డ్ రెజ్యూమ్ అని. సో మీకు పిక్ అయ్యేలాగా రెజ్యూమ్ ఉండడానికి నేను అశ్విన్ కలిపి, అశ్విన్ టుక్ ఎ లీడ్. అంటే మనోడు పాపం 2-3 వీక్స్గా ఏదైనా అన్న దీని మీద వీడియో చేసేద్దాం, చాలా రిక్వెస్ట్ వస్తున్నాయి అంటున్నాడు. సో దీని మీద ఒక డీటెయిల్డ్ వీడియో ఇప్పుడు అశ్విన్ మనకి ప్రజెంట్ చేస్తాడు. ఐ యాడ్ మై ఇన్పుట్స్. సో ఇద్దరం కలిపి ఈ వీడియోని చేస్తున్నాం అనమాట. సో అశ్విన్ ఈజ్ ఆల్సో నోన్ యాజ్ కర్రీ బాయ్. మనోడు క్రేజీ వీడియోస్ అన్నీ కర్రీ బాయ్ అని తన పేజ్లో ఉంటాయి అనమాట. సో మనోడు సూపర్ హీరోస్ ఫ్యాన్ అనమాట. సో కొంచెం క్రేజీ కంటెంట్ ఉంటుంది. నేను మీరు గుర్తుపట్టే ఉంటారు అనుకుంటున్నాను, చాలామంది మన ఫాలోవర్స్కి నేను తెలుసు కాబట్టి. మై నేమ్ ఈజ్ రవి. సో నేను సివిల్ ఇంజనీర్ అండ్ admin of Melody Mocktail, one of the admin of Melody Mocktail. Okay, let's dive into the topic. You take lead.
Yes, so welcome back everyone. So this thing ఇది మేము పక్కా ఇంగ్లీష్లో చేద్దాం అనుకుంటున్నాం, ఎందుకంటే అందరికీ హెల్ప్ అవుతుందని. సో భాషని మారుస్తున్నాం. సో resumes, we have a lot of requests about resumes and how to make it, and so we devised a presentation where this resume can be applied for either people who are applying for jobs as well as for people applying for masters. This thing, so we are not giving you a template itchy. We are not saying that, hey, this is going to be the best template. We are telling you how to write it so that this can be applied to any template on the internet. Okay, let's talk about the first section. Definitely the most simplest thing we all know is the name. That is my name, and that's the first thing. And the next thing is your phone number and email address. And one more thing is, an important thing to notice for most people is email address. Please keep it very current. I understand many of us have very funky emails when we are in school, like cutiepirimgym98@gmail.com. Something like that. Please remove things. Yeah, Dad's Little Princess. If you have emails like that, please remove it. It won't look professional.
Yeah.
The best, easiest way of going with an email is your first name dot last name at gmail.com or anything, Yahoo, anything. Next is the home address. So this is a very debatable topic. What do you say, Anna?
Yeah. Here I will add my 2 cents. So whenever I applied for positions back in the days, I used to find any street name without address, any street name or any road name, and Florida, let's say Tampa. Okay. Cypress Palms Lane, Tampa, Florida. Recruiter don't need an accurate address. What he look is like whether the candidate is local or not.
Yes.
What is the benefit if candidate is local? They can save relocation bonus, right?
Yes.
So pretty much employers look for local candidates just to see for the ease.
4th Avenue, 59 Santa Cargo, New Jersey,
United States of America.
So the best possible way to answer this thing would be is either by experimentation, is like
True.
Like, you know, you can set like 2 different resumes. In one resume you can put your actual address, like you don't have to go pinpoint your exact address like you're telling a pizza delivery guy. You just have to put a basic address, and in the next one you can just play with this technique where you can just select your friend's address or someone else's address and put it there, and or
That's better.
Yes. And
I will simply mention Tampa and Florida, like
simple.
just the city name and state name.
Simple.
Because nobody questions you, and if you put anything like false address, that would be a problem again. So just mention the city name and state name. That should be good enough.
That'll be perfect. So that is the complete analysis of the home address thing. And moving to the next one is, so many people ask this question, like what is the format of a resume, or what text size should we use? So the best moderate text size to use in any case of a resume is like a 12 point. And if you're using a side heading or something, you can go for 14. And if you're going for your name, you can go for 16. Because so as to fit more things in your resume, where you go to a size which is something like 10, that hampers the person's ability to actually read your resume. So if you read really small text, it will be really hard. And one thing I would say is you can play around with this the size topic, where you can just write your resume first, print it out, and see it as an employer. Would I read my resume? So that will be easier.
కరెక్ట్, ఇది కరెక్ట్ గా చెప్పావయ్యా.
Another thing is, like, mostly in US, people prefer for one-page resume, and always make sure you print your resume in PDF. Okay, when you distribute your resume, always send it to recruiter or whoever it is in PDF, because if you keep, like, if you save it in Word format, and when you send it, sometimes the format will completely mess up. The format will completely change.
So to add on that point, so many people from India, they come with a 2-page or 5-page resume, and in India everything is called a CV. So the reason why people prefer a single-page resume is the time constraint. Most people in the US or anywhere else these days, they don't have much time to read a resume for more than 7 seconds at the maximum, unless and until you are a selected candidate. So just to make things easy, if you put everything in one single page, it will be better.
ఇదేంటో తెలుసా?
పుస్తకం,
ఉత్తరం.
ఉత్తరం.
And you might say, like, some people might have a question saying that, oh no, I have a lot of experience. You can actually pick out experience required for that specific job and put it there. Simple. It's not that hard. Yeah. So moving on, and this is a list of fonts which you can use based on even psychology. These are the resume fonts which will actually give a good impression to the person who is reading your resume. The most widely used default font is the Calibri and sans serif fonts, and also don't have funky fonts and funky resume layouts. Just keep it simple. Simple always works. Okay, let's move to the next slide.
చిటికలే.
So this is the other important thing, educational section.
అందుకే ఎడ్యుకేషన్ నెగ్లెక్ట్ చేయకూడదు అంటారు. నాలెడ్జ్ ఈస్ డివైన్.
And so the first thing, definitely, just because it's a US resume, you can just say, I just put your state, your place, the city where you have done your education, and then followed by the state, and then your university, and then your pass out date, like when did you do it. So something to just note here, I've noticed some resumes having like short forms saying like Aug 11 to June 15. Yeah, people don't like seeing that. People like to see consistent stuff. Like, people like everything spelled out. So if you just put an effort in writing the whole thing, they'll understand that yes, this person has made an effort. So your resume has to stand out and your skills have to stand out, not mistakes in your resume. So make sure you completely spell things out. And the next point is, like you see, is major, like whatever you have done, master's in electrical engineering, and your GPA. People coming from India, you usually have your GPAs based on out of 10. So when you're applying to universities, make sure you kind of convert your GPA into a 4. Every university website has a separate cutoff points where they tell you how to make that math. And then put it on resume, because that makes it easy for the other person to see, like the people who you're applying for, to see where you stand. People applying for universities, you guys have no choice. Even though your GPA is less than 3, less than 2, you have to put it, because you are sending your transcripts. Coming to a job perspective, it is debatable thing, because if you have a GPA which is up to 3, you are fine, like in general, like you can put it on there. Excuse me. If you don't have your GPA like a 3 or something, if it's like less than 2 or something, I don't think you have to put it on it. What do you say?
We don't need to mention.
Yes,
that's
you have
not
to
like
highlight your skills.
If at all you have high scores, then you can showcase that hey, I'm a clever student, something like that. But if you have low scores, try to eliminate it, so you're not creating any impression before getting your interview call set up.
Yes,
in your interview call, perform well, but if you put your low GPA here, that's where you might knock down your impression with the recruiter or the manager, whoever it is. So If you have less GPA, just try to eliminate. Don't mention in your resume.
నీకు మ్యాథ్స్లో ఎన్ని మార్కులు వచ్చినాయిరా?
9.
నేను అడిగింది నీ ఏజ్ కాదురా, మార్కులు.
నా ఏజ్ 9, నా మార్కులు 9.
And the next section is your certificate minor, and like usually people do dual
Mhm.
degrees, so make sure even if it's the most irrelevant degree in
Yeah.
the sense like you don't have to put this on your resume if you have a degree in history of Italian horses. You don't need that. If you need it, you have to have a degree which is actually related to the field you're applying to or to the job you're applying to. Then you can put it there.
కపుల్ గ్రాడ్యుయేట్ ని
రూమ్ పైనే ఉంది వెళ్ళండి.
So it's always better to have any minor subjects so that
Mhm.
you can use it at one point of time in your career.
Definitely. And also gives the person who's reading your resume an additional information about you that this person is really driven and he really likes to learn new stuff. So it is a very plus thing to put it on your resume.
Yep.
And moving on to the next one, like you might be wondering if you see like the programming coursework, algorithms, and this one, and relevant coursework. So programming coursework section is essentially for those people applying for software jobs or software industry to get into an admission program. But the essential need of this section is to highlight what you have learned, because there are many
Yeah.
companies who actually take people, even though you are entry level people, they take you so that they can train you. If
Yeah, which means you might not have practical experience, but you
Mhm.
have theoretical knowledge because you did some subjects in that particular field.
మీరు ట్రైనింగ్ ఇస్తే నేర్చుకుంటాను.
ఆల్రెడీ నేర్చుకున్న వాళ్ళకి ఇచ్చేదే ట్రైనింగ్.
So this is also something you do, like some 10 or 11 subjects in your master's course.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
based upon your job, you can highlight your subjects.
mhm.
Let's say if you go to transportation engineering, or
Mhm.
else if you go to structural engineering, you can highlight those subjects. You don't need to mention all the subjects, but you can mention those particular subjects so that they will get an idea. Oh, this guy knows this much. Same thing for other branches too.
People coming from India, you might have this question like, we have close to 60 subjects or something which we
Yeah.
have. So what do I put? So technically speaking, the first semester, the first year of your engineering, those are subjects which are like basics, like basic math, physics and stuff. You don't have to put that. You have to put core subjects which you have training for depending on the job you're applying. The next thing would be relevant coursework. Mention all the coursework which is valid for the job. And people
Mhm.
applying for masters or something, you can actually put in majority of the coursework which you have done, because that doesn't matter, because they're looking for admission just to see if you have those prerequisite courses so that they can
Yeah.
give you admission.
And
So
this
that
is
is
this format is not like only US people have to follow it.
Mhm. Yes.
Anyone can follow in this world.
Main thing is you don't have to include high school experience or other things like we do it in Indian CVs, where you have a table and then you
Yeah.
have a high school 10th standard. That's not
10th
relevant.
I'm Pinky, 9th standard, A section, Little Flask Convent, West Maritpalli, Secunderabad.
పిన్ కోడ్ గుర్తులేదా?
Let's move on to the next section,
చిటికలే.
which is the employment or work experience. So
Yeah.
for people who are actually applying for masters, this section might not be useful for you, but definitely the points and stuff, if you have like internship experience, you can definitely use it. And
Yep.
so like we said, there's a fourth section where employment or work experience. And
Yep.
the first thing would be, or what did you do
Yep.
like in that company? Firmware engineer,
Yep.
intern.
Yep.
And then where you work? I'm an Iron Man fan, so I'm using Stark Industries. That's where I was
Yeah.
working. I want to work.
Name of the
And-
company.
Yes, name of the company, and this is the term, like I discussed before, August 2015 to June 2015.
Come on, man. How come it possible? August
It is
to June?
possible. It is possible. It's time travel. It's Tony Stark. We are talking about Iron Man. It is possible.
Okay.
Go by one. So, okay. What is Mark 9? You see Mark 9, and then there's a website, and then variable power suit for combat. So, for example, many people, okay, let's talk about this. Software engineers, essentially work on apps or certain types of programs to develop it, even as an intern. Like they'll be working with companies where they're developing an app. So for people like that, you can actually do this. For example, Mark 9 is the app you're working on, and Stark Inc. is the website of that company where you're working. And what is it? What is Mark 9? It's basically a variable power suit for combat. So I've taken this example of an actual Iron Man suit where,
Name of the product.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So software people, you can do that. However, people who are from core jobs like industrial engineering or civil engineering, I don't think we have that much capability of explaining what we're actually doing, because our concepts are very dry. So for that, you can directly go or jump into the points, like how did you make impact? Or there's one more thing you can do. Instead of actually putting the company website, write a 1-sentence description of the company. For example, I'm working at Stark Industries, so I'll be saying that it is a multinational global electronic company making Iron Man suits. Like, you just have to go to the company website. You'll have a description on Wikipedia. Just copy and paste it in italics, and it's done.
Yeah.
By
And
doing
also,
so, yeah.
sorry. And also, let's say you're a civil engineer. Try to mention about the project, name of the project. Let's say it is some bridge project. I worked for, so X and X are Courtney Campbell Bridge. Dude, why are you laughing, man?
I just remembered some website I know. Yeah, so we don't talk about it.
Okay.
So yes, like I was telling, you have to just put a description of the company of whatever you're working in. Just a single line description would definitely work. And then coming to the points, like you see here, 3 points. Like take the first point for example, it is highlighted. So I'll tell you. So you see a lot of numbers, and I think many of you might get really scared, like, oh my God, there's a lot of numbers here. No worries. We'll tell you what it is. So if you see the first point, improved devices battery lifespan by 8% by integrating a fuel gauge sensor and establishing a battery saving state. Let's break this point down. So always remember this formula when you're actually making points for your resume, and this will help you in any industry. Accomplished X as measured by Y by doing Z. So let's break it down. So this is the point which we are discussing. So okay, if you guys look at this point, what has the candidate accomplished? Improved devices battery lifespan, right? And measured by, Anna, what did the person measured by? Like, what is the metric he used? By 8. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
He measured it by 8%. And then by doing what?
Integrating a fuel gauge sensor.
Yes, exactly. So you see, this is an actual description of the points, because the main reason of an experience section in a resume is the person is asking how you have experienced that particular job in your own way. Like, what impact have you made? So I have seen many resumes where most resumes just say, oh yeah, completed projects on time, completed this. But that doesn't take home the thing what you added. Like, how did you impact? So if you use this formula in all your points, it will tell the person that, wow, this person has really worked and has learned what he's doing. So there's application, metric, and also the process by what you have done.
Yep. Let's say for software engineers, they can implement something, they can integrate something. What about a civil engineer?
For core jobs, definitely yes. There's not much metric where you can compare. But one thing what you can do is, for example, just say you are a bridge design engineer, right? What you can say is, worked on designing a set of piers and improved its efficiency by 5% by reducing the amount of concrete or the amount of reinforcement used in it. So in this also the same formula is done. What did you accomplish? You're designing hammerhead piers. Is a type of pier which you can actually Google. And then by how much percent? You increase the efficiency by 10%, say, by doing what? By reducing the amount of steel bars you use, because efficiency is also interlinked to the cost of the project, because that's exactly what drives engineering. So even if you reduce the number of bars or the amount of concrete you use for construction of that bridge, that is definitely called an efficient plan in general. So core people, so okay, you guys might be like, oh yeah, we are not that great at coming up with points. Here's a very great example what you can do. LinkedIn is a place where you can explore different people's profiles. What you can do is, if for example, if you're working as a civil engineer or bridge engineer, just type bridge engineer in the LinkedIn search tab. It will send you the profiles of the topmost engineers on the planet. Go to a profile, just look at how their profile has been chalked. Pick points from there. And then this is not going to happen in one day, because a resume definitely is your life. So it's definitely going to take a lot of trials and errors. Prepare 10 points for each and every experience you have. That will help you recirculate those points and make it better when you're applying for different companies or different openings. So that is a very good thing which I followed, and it definitely did wonders for me as well.
Yeah, people might ask like, Anna, why should I waste my time? Why don't you send your resume? Because so that is the whole point why we are doing this session. I don't want to give you an example. We are giving an example to create a resume by your own.
Yes.
So that is the whole intention of this session.
And the main important thing is, yes, we could have done that, like send you a resume saying there is a god of resumes. But the thing is, you are the person who are going to be interviewed by another person for that resume. And then if you cannot say what you have done, the person won't trust you. And then you will definitely be debarred from the entire job searching process, because they'll mark you as a really untrustworthy employee. And so we'll go back to the old slides, because there's just one more thing we have to say. So the next thing would be the leverage knowledge. So this is a section which will be applicable for almost all majors. For example, in this resume, it is completely a software engineering resume, because I definitely think most of the people are software engineers. So that is something a lot in population. So that's why. So as you can see, it's the GIT, ARM, Cortex, and everything. These are the softwares which are used for that project. For example, someone might ask, okay, Anna, I'm a civil engineer, so what do I use? So you can just put in the softwares you have used, like bridge analysis or anything else has to work on softwares. For example, if you're in India, StatPro, AutoCAD, MicroStation, these are the things which you use to actually come with a design or to analyze the bridge or to just draft it. You can just add those softwares there.
Even if you have basic knowledge, you can add them, but don't lie.
Yes. Basic knowledge definitely works. So yeah, I think we pretty much completed the employment or work experience section. And yes, this applies to all your points, and this also applies not only to intern positions but also to full-time positions. So
if you have multiple employments, like multiple employers in your previously, like if you have like 5 years experience before coming to masters, with 3 different employers, you can list all 3 different employers, and you have to do the same as we did for the first one, showing in the slide. So you have to do for the same thing for all 3 of them.
Just to add on that, make sure, definitely, yes, you guys might have a lot of experience. Just make sure you put the most relevant experience on that, which will definitely complement the job you're applying for. Because if you just put something else where you're working on being an analyst or working with Excel spreadsheets, and then you're applying for a job where you completely manage nuclear codes, that doesn't work. So just make sure you have that. And moving on to the next one is the software projects or academic experience. So this thing, so people who don't have a work experience, like working on an internship or anything else, you can just go all out on your academic experience, wherein you actually give details about what you have done in school. Like, for example, the projects you have worked on or the things you have cast. So let's look at the project. So for example, is a software. Let's talk about the software thing first. As a software project, you have done something called the Ultron app, and then the date, and these are the same same points. The same. But here it will be different, because leverage knowledge is basically used for something which leverage as in like the meaning of leverage is the knowledge you already know, and then you kind of applied that knowledge in making something better. But however, in school, you just utilize because you're still learning. So you just have to use right terms for the right thing. So that's exactly why you use utilized here. Everything else is the same. And for this section, if you don't have enough things, just kind of be descriptive about the projects you have done.
అనయ్య ఏంటి ఇల్లు తెగ ఇంగ్లీష్లో మాట్లాడుతున్నారు, తెలుగు రాదు వీళ్ళకి, ఇల్లు ఇల్లు ఓవర్ యాక్షన్, తెలుగులో మాట్లాడొచ్చు కదా.
యాక్చువల్లీ ఐ బికేమ్
తెలుగులో ఏడు
ఇంగ్లీష్ రాదా?
వచ్చు, అయినా తెలుగులో ఏడు.
అయినా తెలుగులోనా?
భయ్యా ఏంటి ఏంటి ఎందుకు తెలుగులో చెప్పాలి? నీ రెజ్యూమే ఇంగ్లీష్లో ఉంది, కంపెనీకి వెళ్ళాక ఇంగ్లీష్లోనే మాట్లాడతావు, అక్కడ ఈమెయిల్స్ అన్ని ఇంగ్లీష్లోనే ఉంటాయి. సో నువ్వు పని చేసేదంతా ఇంగ్లీష్ అయితే ఇది మాత్రం నీకు తెలుగులో కావాలా? ఇలా చూడు.
అదే ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ. తెలుగులో ఉండాలంటే మేము తెలుగులో చెప్తాం భయ్యా, కాకపోతే ఇంగ్లీష్ లో ఉంది కదా, ఇంగ్లీష్ లోనే చెప్పాలి. యూఎస్ వస్తున్నావు అంటే నువ్వు ఇంగ్లీష్ రాకుండా ఎలా ఉంటావు?
అదేలాగా నీకన్నా బాగా వచ్చి నాకు మొత్తం ఊరాసలో మాట్లాడేస్తాను ఏటనుకున్నావు మళ్ళీ.
అదే మాది ఈస్ట్ గోదావరి, మేము అలాగే మాట్లాడతాము.
సరిపోయారు ఇద్దరును, సాగుతుంది మీకు అలాగా.
సో ఏం లేదు భయ్య, కాసేపు రిఫ్రెష్మెంట్ కోసం అలా చేసాం కానీ. సో టాపిక్ లోకి డైవ్ ఇన్ అవ్వండి, టాపిక్ మెయిన్ కదా. సో మీకు అండర్స్టాండింగ్ కోసం బ్రీఫ్ గా చెప్తున్నాం. మీరు ఏంటిది ఈ అబ్బాయి ఇంతసేపు చెప్తున్నారు, పేషెన్స్ కావాలి మరి. ఊరికే అన్ని వచ్చి ఒక జాబ్ కావాలన్నా పేషెన్స్ కావాలి, ఒక సక్సెస్ కావాలన్నా పేషెన్స్ కావాలి, ఏదైనా నేర్చుకోవాలన్నా పేషెన్స్ కావాలి. సో డీటెయిల్డ్ గా తెలుసుకుంటే మీకు బాగుంటుంది. మాకు కూడా పెద్ద వీడియో చేయాలంటే మాకు కూడా బోరే, బట్ డీటెయిల్డ్ గా చెప్తే మీకు హెల్ప్ అవుతుంది అని చెప్పి.
Yeah. So next thing, so yes, skills. So okay, skill section is definitely one of the most important sections you have, and so there are two ways of putting it. So if you are really like you know what you're doing and other stuff, you can just put the softwares which you have done, or the ones you have put on the section which is like leverage, knowledge, and utilized section. You can just put all the softwares here. However, there are certain types of companies like, you know, for example, Boeing or like big multinational firms which need professional knowledge in certain softwares, and they'll test you for it, like Google or anything else, because I've seen my friends do that. In that case, be very honest, because they test you for that. For example, if you say that you're proficient in all languages and then when they ask you to do something on it, you cannot do it, that will be a major downgrade there.
వీటి గురించి మీకు కూడా తెలిసే ఉంటుంది.
నాకు ఇప్పుడే తెలిసింది నీకేమీ తెలియదని.
People might
they'll say
see you
bye
as a
bye.
lie. Yeah,
That's
CC bye bye tata ante. However, for core people, core you have very good advantage for core. For take civil engineering example, there, for example, in civil engineering, since many years, there are just a couple of softwares which have been used for design analysis or anything else, like StatPro. It's there in India and also the US. AutoCAD is there in India and the US. But the thing is, we don't actually use it much.
What is the most important thing? Microsoft
Excel, yes. Microsoft Office, you can just say it's Microsoft Office. And one more thing is, Anna, there's one thing which a couple of people and recruiters have been talking to me. See, to be honest, unless you're applying for a completely account management type of job, it is expected for everyone to know Microsoft Office.
Office. Yeah.
So they were like, it is not required to completely put Microsoft PowerPoint, Word, Excel. But however, if you're applying, if you're a finance major and you're applying for an accounting position as a CPA or something like that, you have to tell, because Microsoft has a huge suite of different programs which you can use. So make sure you mention that for that type of resume. For engineering resumes, technically speaking, definitely make sure you know what you're putting there. Like I said, for core jobs, there are very little things which you use. So you can just put AutoCAD. Even though you have basic experience on it, they will train you. But software industry, it doesn't work that way. They need people who know that software. So it's kind of like that. And moving on, the other thing is, if you are having trouble finding that, okay, you know, I'm not sure what type of skills that I do, or people who are actually trying to think of applying to the US or something and don't know what's going to go in that software, or people who are thinking of learning new softwares, this is your man. There is this website called *net, and this thing is basically used by the LCA or the USCIS to determine the minimum wages and stuff. I think Anna, you might have known this website, right? Yes.
No, my lawyer took care of it.
Yeah, everything. The only thing you have to do is, in that section where you see an occupation quick search, is where you put your branch, like civil engineering. If you do that, it'll give you a complete outlook of every software, everything which is hot technologies, as in which is on demand in the market. So based on that, you can actually formulate your resume, tailor it, or if you don't have that training, you can take new courses. But this is how the US deals with stuff, and this is the most comprehensive website for skills.
If you don't have any experience with some software or whatever it is that is very much needed for the position you are applying to, get into LinkedIn. Just for that particular month, take the premium, and you will have access to hundreds or thousands of certifications. Okay, you can do a basic certification and you can put it in your resume. That helps you a lot. Yep. Yeah.
Yes. Hamma. So to be
ఏంటి మూమెంట్
okay.
ఏంటి సంగతులు ఏంటి సంగతులు ఏంటి ఇంగ్లీష్ లో మాట్లాడతాం మజాలేదు మాట్లాడతారు తెలుగులో
అదే తెలుగులో మాడదాం కానీ యా అంటే వన్ ఫైనల్ థింగ్ అండి, పాపం తెలుగులో అని వాళ్ళు ఉంటారు కదా, వాళ్ళకి మరి చెప్పుకోవద్దు ఒక మాట. సో ఓకే, జస్ట్ couple of final things to summarize. We are summarizing the resume thing. The first thing, your name, definitely put your whole name, your email. Don't keep funky resume emails like qtpie@rimjim123. Just put your first name dot last name @gmail.com. It's free, definitely good. Address. For address section, make sure that either you have two resumes, one with your actual address and the other one with the other place of address where you're actually applying for. In that way, you can see which one is working, because all you need is interviews. And we'll share that. So what we'll be doing is we'll be sharing a list of websites which might help you prepare a resume, and then another site, and then a link to this presentation, so that you can just go back and observe. And one important thing is, yes, I know that you guys have a lot of questions on this. If you have questions on this, you can definitely put it in the comment section down below. We'll try to get back to you as much quickly as possible. So that actually concludes the presentation of the resume. So we can switch to Telugu mode.
బాబు
ఇదే డైనింగ్ హాల్.
తిరుపతిలో వెంకటేశ్వర స్వామి చూసినప్పుడు కూడా ఇంత ఆనందం కలగలేదురా.
తెలుగులోకి పని చేయట్లేదు, ఇంగ్లీష్ లో మాట్లాడి
అదే ఇంగ్లీష్ వాడు ఏదో మాట్లాడి వెళ్ళాడన్న, నాకేం అర్థం అయితే తెలుగు అని పడుకున్నాను నేను దాని నుంచి తెలుగు. బట్ మన సోదరి మనులకి అందరికి ఇందాక రెజ్యూమే కోసం మా తమ్ముడు చెప్పింది వినండి, అండ్ దాన్ని బట్టి మీకు ఏమైనా క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉంటే కామెంట్స్ లో పెట్టండి, అండ్ మేము హెల్ప్ చేస్తాం. అంతే. సో అప్పుడు మీకు ఐడియా ఉంటుంది, మాకు ఐడియా ఉంటుంది.
ఒకవేళ don't know whether we are uploading this video in Facebook, I mean YouTube or Instagram, or might be both. ఒకవేళ యూట్యూబ్ లో మీరు చూస్తున్నట్టయితే do comment us in our Instagram, because in Instagram we are more active than YouTube. So Instagram లో మనకి 100,000 దాకా 100,000 ప్లస్ అలా ఉన్నారనమాట. ఇక్కడ యూట్యూబ్ లో మనం ఇంకా 5 to 6 grand people దగ్గర ఉన్నాం. సో వీఆర్ కాన్సన్ట్రేటింగ్ మోర్ ఆన్ Instagram, because our motto is not to generate the money, our motto is to provide information. So even me comments gaani questions gaani, please direct those questions to our Instagram, Melody Mocktail. Our page is called Melody Mocktail. You can reach us.
కర్రీ బాయ్ నన్ను మర్చిపోకండి.
కర్రీ బాయ్ మన కర్రీ బాయ్ మర్చిపోకండి. మన కర్రీ బాయ్ మన ఇన్స్టాగ్రామ్ అకౌంట్ కుర్రోడ్ని అలాగా అకౌంట్ మీద లుక్ చేయండి, మంచి కామెడీ వీడియోలు అన్ని చేస్తాడు. మరి బై గైస్. సో మళ్ళీ ఇంకొక ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ సెషన్ తో మళ్ళీ వస్తాం. అంతవరకు బాయ్ ఫ్రమ్ కర్రీ బాయ్ అండ్ ఆర్సీ. ఓకే, బాయ్.
టాటా, గుడ్ బై, గయా.